Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first video from Comedian FPL. In this first video, I wanted to sort of talk about what I want to do with this channel, why I started to make FPL videos, and then actually talking into some strategy and my first draft. And yeah, the main reason why I'm doing these videos is because I'm absolutely addicted to FPL. I love playing the game. Last year was really the first season that I really got into it and started playing smart, as opposed to just trying to hit home runs all the time. So since I started playing the game smart, I got into it even more. I started watching YouTubers. Who helped me out, and it was really the first time that I felt the power of YouTube as a community with some of the videos that I've been watching. So yeah, I thought it was cool and decided to make some videos of my own. And yeah, I'll be calling this Comedian FPL because this is what it is. Like, I'm a comedian and I'll be playing FPL, which doesn't mean this would be much more for FPL than for comedy. I'm not really gonna be doing pre-written jokes for these videos, but I do think that a comedian's perspective is always interesting. Comedians tend to think a certain way, and a lot of people tend to enjoy that way of thinking. That's why someone can make a show out of us just getting in cars and getting a beverage. Yeah, so I won't be doing too many jokes here, but anything that comes to mind naturally, I'll always say. Like, for example, I think Kolasinac should always have a cigarette attached to his mouth, that he looks like he should. So yeah, I'll have certain observations, or like the fact that there's a Premier League head coach named the Holy Spirit and nobody is even talking about it, like, the man's name is Espirito Santo and we're just pretending that that's normal. Yeah, so these are the sort of observations that I'll have throughout the season. But yeah, I think I'm a pretty good FPL player. Last season I finished number 66, around the 66,000 mark, which is solid. I was hoping to get into the top 50k. But another thing I should know, that you guys should know, that I play the game mostly to win my 2 mini leagues. I have a pretty big, or a sizable classic mini league with my friends, and a head-to-head league on the same team. So those are the things that I mostly care about. But last year I started paying attention to the overall rank a little more. So and paying attention to the overall rank can help you a little bit with your choices. But there will be certain cases where I'll have to take into account what players, like the guys in my mini league, have. But when I talk to you guys, I'll make sure that you know what I'm doing there, and that I might be choosing another player if my priorities were simply overall rank. I literally had no idea that one of the seasons I was 312. I thought that was a tremendous success when I look back at it, considering how I was playing the game. Again, wasn't paying that much attention. I was doing it sort of just for fun, kind of like the gambler's way of doing it. Actually, I should say like an occasional gambler, like the sucker that goes to Vegas and leaves all his money there, as opposed to a professional gambler who would use as much information as possible to make his decisions, right? So last year I thought I played very well. I thought I played bravely. Like, for example, at the beginning of the season, I started the season with Salah, Mane, and I think a Liverpool defender, and I sold Mane when the fixtures were turning at the beginning of the season, probably around like week 8 or 10 or something, when their fixtures were changing, and he was actually the number one scoring midfielder. And I sold him for Hazard, whose fixtures, actually, this was after week 4. Yeah, because I I think I was on board. I don't know if it was week 4. It was one of the first weeks. I was on board when Hazard scored that 20-pointer. He had a hat trick at the beginning of the season. That's when I brought him in for Mane when he was the number one scoring midfielder. I think these sort of decisions, as long as they're smart and calculated, can really help you have a successful season. So, without further ado, I would like to move to my first draft of a team. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of things right now that I wanted to mention to you guys, but this is the nitty gritty, and this is really what I want to get into. Right, so this is my team as of right now. Maybe it'd be better to show it to you guys in the transfers, because this is an important thing. I have $500,000 in the bank, which is, when the prices come out, it seems like that's going to be impossible to do. Granted, this will probably not be exactly what my team looks like come the start of the season, but I think it'll be this in large part. Some of the things I'll be looking to possibly change, because as you can see, I have a 4 million keeper, a 4 million fifth defender, 4.5 Dendonker that seems to be pretty standard amongst the community, and I have Greenwood at 4.5. So I currently only have one for sure playing bench player. So that's going to have to change, but I'm actually really hoping Kelly will start at Palace, and at that point I'll be good, I think. Right now I'm also probably looking at Pope instead of Ryan to start with. If I have the money comfort to get 2 4.5 keepers, I'm probably going to do that and rotate them. Otherwise, if I need the money, I am just gonna roll with one keeper until the wild card at least. And yeah, so if you're watching FPL videos right now, that means you're a pretty avid player, so you probably know more or less what's going on in the community. And these two right here, Salah and Sterling, seem to be the sort of boring, predominant, what I call big dog choice. Yeah, so big dogs are the premium players. I think Salah this season is just an obvious thing, and I think Mane will disappear as an FPL asset unless he does something crazy or unless Salah's really struggling. And then Sterling versus Aguero debate is always an interesting one. And last season, I was actually really, really good at feeling out what Pep is thinking. So in the first double game weeks that, you remember City had those decent games. The first one, when a lot of people captained or triple captained Sane. Some people did it with Sterling, but Sane was really like a hot choice there, who ended up having 1 point over the 2 games. And Aguero had a hat trick against, I believe, Arsenal, but I'm not sure about that. He definitely had a hat trick. I captained Aguero and ended up really regretting that I didn't triple captain him. I ended up triple captaining Mane in that game week 36, I think it was, that everybody was trying triple captaining a Liverpool player, and Salah, I believe, had 18 and Mane had 13. It was just a sick 5-0 game. But I'm gonna be going with Salah and Sterling, mainly for, Salah just straight up I think is the best choice, and you get a discount. I think that the reason why they priced him at 12.5 and not 13 is because they're kind of comparing him to his own history rather than to other players. So they priced him at 13 when he broke the fantasy record, and he still was the number one scoring midfielder last season, but he had about 40 points or 50 points less than that score, so that's why the discount, I think it makes sense, and I think you got to have him on your team. And Sterling is more of a structure decision. I really have my eye on Kevin De Bruyne. If I watch a few games at the beginning of the season and De Bruyne is in attacking position at 9.5 million, and he's getting these assists where he's getting, 3 assists and the bonus and games like that, he'll have an occasional go once in a while. And if there's risk with rotation with Sterling, then I'll be happy to save that 2.5 million and move over to De Bruyne. But for now, I think for structure purposes, I want these two players. And as you can already tell, I'm saving money in attack because I think based on the choices and the prices, this is the thing to do this year. For the first time, I'm planning to really get away from the 3-4-3. And my strategy, also, like, if you're going to go with 4 or 5 defenders, I think part of this strategy, why I'm doing that, is I'm planning to use less transfers overall. I can check later for future videos of how many transfers I used last season, but I enjoy a hit. I enjoy being aggressive with the game. So I probably had more transfers than I should, that made up in the grand scheme of things, probably costing me a lot of sort of stress and decision making, that whereas if I left the team the way it was, I would have been just fine. So as of right now, I'm going very heavy in defense, and here's the logic behind what's going on the screen right now. I see no reason why Liverpool and Man City shouldn't dominate yet again. I think they're going to be significantly better. I think Chelsea finished third last season, and Chelsea's depleted, new manager. That they should the gap between the top two and Chelsea should be increased. Tottenham, Tottenham's always a team that's kind of gonna be between the second spot and the fifth spot. I definitely have my eye on Tottenham players, but I think Liverpool and Man City are still gonna be the dominant forces in the league. And if that's so, and people have said that it's going to be very hard to triple up on these teams because of, your scoring players have been priced accurately from last season, I think this is kind of the way to do it. The way to do it is to double up on defense and get a big hitter in attack. So Robertson and Van Dijk are pretty much going to be there all season, I hope. I hope I have the patience to stick with them all the time, unless, they get injured or something. By the way, I think Van Dijk I might just start replacing him with a GOAT logo. I think he might be the greatest defender of all time if he continues to play like that. I think he hasn't had, no one has completed a dribble past him in his last 64 Premier League appearances. That is insane. And he had 4 goals and 4 assists last season. He's just a monster. You get a bit of a discount with that 0.5. I'd probably like to have Trent. I'm going to be paying attention to him. But I'm a little afraid of rotation because Joe Gomez is a really good player. Now, I think if Klopp will be thinking the way I'm thinking, I think Lovren will be out of the squad, and I think it'll be Van Dijk and Trent. And if we look at Van Dijk, Trent, Robertson, and Joe Gomez. And if that's the case, then Joe Gomez is going to have to be in our thoughts at 5.5. Because then I might jump off of Van Dijk and get on Joe Gomez if he's locked in, yeah? With these two guys, I don't know if either of them will be in my squad. The Man City defenders, I don't know if either of them will be in my squad come the start of the season, because Zinchenko will be in if he gets the starting spot, but I'm also interested in Mendy. If Mendy, they said that Mendy won't practice with the team until the preseason is over, which means that he's probably not going to be starting in game 1, which means Zinchenko will probably be. In which case, for whenever he plays, he's a bargain. He should be considered for our teams. even if you don't think he'll get that many assists, he'll get an assist once in a while, and a 5.5 just for clean sheets from Man City. It's worth it. And then if he's in the team, I would actually probably like to jump off of Laporte even before the start of the season. And I have some guys that I'm looking at 5.5. Those guys are Seamus Coleman. Everybody loves Everton assets right now, and a lot of people are tripling up. I feel like I should have either Coleman or Digne on my team. I don't really like the sound of Digne for $6 million, to be honest, especially if Coleman's there as an alternative for 5.5. When they were actually both playing on the field, I think Coleman actually outscored him last season for points per game. Not 100% sure about that, but I think he either outscored him or it was very close. He just had injury issues. So if he's healthy, he's gonna be bombing up that up the touchline, or up the sideline. So I really like the sound of Coleman. And Frank Lampard has mentioned that probably his right or left back of choice will be Emerson. At 5.5, I think he may be somebody to look at very seriously. Because you have Alonso 6.5 pretty much out of the question. No one's going to be really interested in him unless he goes crazy. Although it doesn't seem like he's actually going to keep his place. David Luiz is sitting there at 6. So I think Emerson at 5.5 will be a bargain and somebody I'm looking at. I really like the look of my midfield. I'm really hoping I'm not going to touch this midfield because two things that are happening here is I know I'm picking two guys that are they succeeded last season and they had their prices sort of match this. But for this right here, I just have to be here for this. I mean, this run of fixtures for Everton up until game week 13, where you can easily just unload them. I mean, you got to be on board with Everton. I right now have only attacking assets, but I'm like I said, I'm considering the defender, and then Bournemouth up until game week 7 or 9 seems like a great investment in attack, which is why I have two of their assets now. My biggest questions, as you can probably know, on this team will be in the attack. I think the attacking assets are overpriced this season. If you look at it, Aguero at 12, like that one is gonna hurt him. He's usually so reliable, and he's gonna be scoring goals. But last season I got a little tired of him. And I jumped off of him at a pretty good time too, because he just started scoring and being substituted in like the 57th minute, 65th minute. For someone that'll cost you 12 million, even though he's scoring, that's not good enough. If he's getting off the field with 6 or 7 points, 12 million, that's not good enough. Whereas Sterling is a much more explosive player. Sterling, usually when he got benched for the whole game, which is always nice for fantasy, that you'll get your, 2 or 3 points from Den Donker or whoever is your fifth midfielder, or a surprise clean sheet from a Wan-Bissaka last season comes in. So Aguero, 12 million expensive. Vardy, I like the look of him. Wilson for me at 8. He might justify that price tag, but I'm just hoping that Josh King will really reward us for saving that 1.5 million. By the way, I'm not hoping for Josh King to match Wilson. And I'm not hoping for Calvert-Lewin to match Jimenez. That's not what I'm doing. I'm deciding to save the money in this front line where they score 4 points per 4 points per goal. They don't get any clean sheet points. They usually do get a nice bonus when they score, but I just feel like the game's slightly changing, And if you look at the defensive scores, like basically these guys up here, the defenders, premium defenders, are almost. If you look at last season, they're giving you almost the same points for half the price usually, and that can't be ignored. So I decided to go premium teams, invest heavily in the defense. Um, Again, I don't know if I'll stick with the Man City double up in defense. If I can save some money, for example, if Zinchenko looks like he starts, and again, like I can save $1 million off of Laporte, that $1 million will probably go toward the front line. If I can work my way to Vardy, I'll be interested in that. I'm interested in both Jota and Jimenez, but I'm just not convinced about the fixtures at the beginning of the season. And I know that the Jimenez was like a big four slayer last season, but I generally don't trust. If it's tough fixtures, I just don't want the sweat, especially at the beginning of the season where all our options are available. We can wildcard whenever we want. I don't really like investing into something I'm not sure about. So probably whatever money I'm able to save, I'll try to look to improve my front. But here's the problem: these improvements are kind of unexciting. I don't want any part of Dini at 87 years old, hoping for their penalties. I don't want any part of Lukaku. I think he gets, if he gets sold, Rashford is the one I'm looking at. If Lukaku leaves, I'll probably try to make space for Rashford on this team. Calvert-Lewin is another case, of course, that I'm watching. If he gets the nod as Everton's number 9, I think I'm sticking with him and hoping he'll be more accurate than he was in years past. In which case, if Lukaku got sold, I'd try to upgrade King to my man Rashford. But these are unexciting. Jota at 6.5 with the fixtures. Deulofeu with the price hike. I don't want any part of Wood. I don't want any part of Murray. I don't want any part of Barnes. I don't want any part of Arnautovic, even though he's always interesting. I'm tired of, they start off with Man City at home, and I'm tired of the injuries, and I'm tired of the transfer speculation. Just do what you got to do. Giroud, that's one to for sure consider. So right now I could, with that $500,000, replace Josh King with Giroud. And if nothing happens at Chelsea, and we get word that he'll be starting, look at these fixtures after Man United. They can score at Man United. I'd definitely be interested in bringing in Giroud. All right, I feel like I've been talking for quite a minute. This is, like I said, I'm addicted to FPL, so I could probably be talking about this for hours. So instead, let's get you guys' thoughts on my team, on your teams. As you can see, I have a pretty pathetic social media following. So if you guys would engage with me, that would be terrific. It's not what I wanted to show you. My name is Philip van der Brim. You can follow me on Facebook. Right now, I'm working a lot on stand-up in Polish. I live in Warsaw. But I also do stand-up in English. It'd be cool to build some sort of a community here through FPL. But yeah, if you guys want to just geek out over FPL, I'm totally down to do that. You can please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button. If I could, start existing in this FPL community, that'd be really cool. And yeah, whatever questions you got, whatever you think is interesting, I'm more than interested in hearing your thoughts. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. My name is Philip van der Brim. I hope to see you soon. Peace.